Did I hear a niner in there?
Shut up, Richard.
At least I'm not saying tree all the time or fife.
Fife. Oh, yeah. Fife.
Yeah.
Well,
Fife.
we never said that. We used to, when we roll, every bar in Wisconsin, and most of them probably in Minnesota too, have a roll of the day, a shake of the day, sometimes they call it. And it's a dice cup with 5 die in it.
Okay.
And you, it's usually like you play like a poker type hand or just a high, try to keep as many 6s or as many 5s or whatever.
Sure.
Or I don't think they allow straights usually. So it's just the multiples.
Okay.
And ship captain crew, they call it. So you get 3 shakes, and in 3, if you get all 5 to match, then you win whatever money is in this shake of the day. And usually, I don't know, in the old days, they used to charge $1 to shake. And then if you didn't win, it'd go into the kitty. And so that would just be collected all together. And if you'd win, then you got the whole kitty, but had to buy the entire bar a drink.
Oh, yeah, wow.
Usually that's good and not a problem. But if 10 people shake in a day, that's $10 in if they don't win. And so, yeah, it's kind of fun. Anyway, when you would shake 5s, they were Barneys. Oh, man, I got Barneys because Barney Fife from Annie Griffith. Yes. Long story.
I was trying to see how you were coming.
Where's she going?
Yeah, because so when I say Fife, you know why I say it, right?
You say
why
I
said it.
I have no idea why.
Because not going back to niner, let's just call it for what it is. It's pilot speak. It's not really, but that's how you identify over the radio. Niner. 9 is niner, 3 is tree, and 5 is fife. I don't know. There is rationale behind it, and it had to do with radios not being very clear, and sometimes they're still not because you're dealing with very old radios in some of these airplanes. But typically. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6, 7, 8, niner. So
nice.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
That's why
I say.
But I'm wondering if that's where
I say it because of Tommy Boy.
Tommy Boy.
Let's be clear.
Did I hear a niner in there?
Shut up, Richard.
Yep. Yeah.
Let me guess which one is yours. It comes out with duct tape all over it as the bag is coming off the plane.
Yep.
Awesome.
Deep cuts by PoddiMouths. Deep cuts by the PoddiMouths podcast. That's
so. What's on your so-called mind today?
Nothing is in my mind, but on my mind, I don't know. Did you watch the Republican debates this week? You didn't really miss much, but I did watch a little bit of it. And you want to know what I got from it?
Pregnant?
No, thank God, no. I mean, no, seriously. No, what I got from it was the fact that your state governor, and I texted you earlier today, your state governor is...
My state, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Your state's governor is 2 days, not even years, 2 days younger than I am.
I saw that.
Yeah. And I was quite shocked by that, and I told my wife, what am I doing with my life? He's governor of the state of Florida running for president. He's younger than I am. And all I'm doing is a freaking podcast.
You're starting to feel old now, aren't you?
I am starting. That made me feel old. I'm starting to feel old. But I'm still, I'm better looking at least.
Oh, no question.
We'll go with that.
It's not like he,
It's not like he was, he's younger than me and that he was a JAG lawyer for a bunch of years.
And a senator. Wasn't he a senator or a congressman?
I don't remember.
I don't either. He was one of the things in Washington for a term.
He could have been. Yeah. I don't remember reading that. Doesn't mean it's not true, but
right.
I do know that he was still a JAG lawyer 1 or 2 months into his governorship.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
But he was in the reserves. So
he's been all I can, before I ask you how he did or how you thought he did and how the others did. I like him because he's our governor, and I think he's made some really good calls on a lot of things. We see eye to eye on many social issues and so on. However, that said, he is a little younger in that he's not quite as polished as some of the. He's not Ronald Reagan,
right?
who
Which
was.
we're going to talk about that because that was very interesting.
Yeah, and I just it's all about. He says a lot of the same things over and over, and I can't believe they don't coach him on this stuff. Like at the end of the day, stop it. Stop saying at the end of the day. Yeah. Everyone out there, if you currently say at the end of the day, stop saying it. Moving forward. Stop saying moving forward.
Moving forward.
It's just those little things that a lot of them say.
We all say. We all have our little things. I say so a lot. I say
you have to stop it. That's because you work for a company that used to work out of Seattle.
Well, that too. Oh, that we. I won't call them out by name, but I'm sure they're all listening right now. There are a couple of people where I won't say what word they say, but there are a couple that say the same thing over and over again. And we have this little text chain. We've told them about it too, but we have this little text chain that we send the beer emoji every time they say that word.
Oh,
if we were really drinking beer, we'd be smashed at the end of every single meeting.
You should just do shots because a whole beer, that's a lot.
I know. I don't think they have a shots emoji, though. Maybe they do. Probably by now they do.
I'm sure they do. You can
they have to.
One. Or invent one.
We could invent
really
one.
Wealthy.
Be billionaires.
Maybe 100 heirs.
100 heirs. Like $100 here or there. Anyway, I got to watch it, and I will say I was not a Ron DeSantis fan out of the people that are there. So preface it as I usually do with I'm down the line. I've voted both sides. I haven't decided.
Both ways. I mean, we've said that before.
It's just my personality. I really do look at who fits my desires, I guess, at the end of the day, and that's who I'll probably end up voting for. And I had a few people based on the interviews that I've had at the end of the day that have. I guess I watched a lot more of that debate than I thought I did. So I know, right?
Oh no! Don't bring that back again.
Oh, geez.
Right.
Yeah, right. I do that all the time, right?
Right. I do that, right? And no, wrong.
Okay, John, let me finish now. Okay.
Please do. I love pushing you off track, though. I like this.
That's where the so and the ums come from, because I got to get back on track because I have no idea where I went. I never do.
All right, I'm sorry. Okay. I'll be silent.
I'm watching, and I had my preconceived notions of Ron DeSantis based on the knowledge. Can you hear my dog? She's whining. Speaking of, I see now I'm going off on a transit. Well, not
Bonnie.
So, Bonnie, come here. Bonnie.
Where's Bonnie?
Come here.
Where's your puppy?
Come here. Come on. Can you see her?
Oh, Conehead.
She's in the cone of
shame.
Yeah.
Bonnie. What did she do?
She has an ear infection. She has an ear infection.
So she was scratching at it.
Yep.
She's smaller than Clyde, isn't she?
She is smaller than Clyde.
Yeah. She looks little compared to him.
Not too much. I mean, she's only about 5 pounds.
Look, lighter. I can only see him here on TV. I don't see him in person.
No, you're always invited. You just never come.
I am? Oh, well, I'm on the way.
I know you are. But what am I? Wow. Okay, back to the debate.
So
okay. At the end of the day.
Yeah, stop.
Right?
Gosh.
I have to say the whole thing. You know what? That's going to be the So at the end of the day,
right.
I
know right. Do I know right?
Of the day, right. Okay.
Everyone is going to already logged. They've already logged in to listen because they saw. I can't wait to see this one because it's going to be. The title is great, and then they hear you writing it down. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Well, it was originally going to be. It was going to start with the whole kitty, but I'm now going to change it to so at the end of the day, right?
The whole kitty.
Yeah. Sorry, folks. Continue. That name isn't going to start that way anymore.
Yeah, they're going to be happy.
Okay.
Yes.
We're at the debate. And Ron DeSantis, Ron, whatever his name is. I was not impressed going into it. And I really think he did better than I had expected. So if you were trying to rank where I was going with people and what I was thinking and my opinions on the outset, I think he did definitely rise in the ranks.
Okay.
Would I put him as number one? He's pretty close. He's pretty close in my mind. The one I was really excited for was, and I'm gonna butcher his last name, the
Ramaswamy. Yeah.
I was really excited to see how he would do.
Mm-hmm.
And from what I had read, from the things that I had seen, the interviews, I thought, okay, very level-headed, younger than I would like, because we talked about that on a previous episode. You don't want super old, but super young is, and they talked about that too on the debate. Super young that's squishy. I was not impressed by his performance. He was almost like a bully. He was talking over people. He was really pushing people's buttons. Did he have some good things to say? Yes, he did. However, there were times where I'm like, dude, chill. Let's give the other folks. You slammed them. You slammed them good. Now let them talk. Let them get a rebuttal in on you. That's how debates work. You can't debate in a vacuum. We've often said that. So he did not impress me as much as I had thought he would. Chris Christie, bombastic, same as just exactly how I had expected him to be. He's not in it to win it, I don't think. And even the commentators at the end said the same thing. He's not in it to win it. He's in it to bash people. That's it.
And to end up with a cabinet position is what a lot of people say.
Yeah. So the other one that was interesting to me, and interesting not because I found his politics great and this and that. I just was excited to see him because rarely do you see other governors from certain states running for president. And the governor of North Dakota is also running for president and made this particular debate. And I wanted to see, because, my dad lives in North Dakota. The only thing I took from him was his statement about riding his horse in the Badlands in North Dakota. Now, folks, if you've never been to North Dakota or don't know much about it, you think that North Dakota is perfectly flat across. It is, honestly, it's a beautiful state. It really is. I wouldn't want to live there, but it's beautiful. Sorry, Lisa. Sorry, Dad. There's one little section in the southwestern corner where my dad lives that is an extension of the Badlands coming up from South Dakota. So my dad lives in the Badlands. I made the joke to my dad. I said, hey, your governor said he likes to ride horses in the Badlands. Not many people down there. You know him? So, of course, he didn't. And I knew he didn't. But he started he started telling me different things. He's like, yeah, I do know that he has an estate. One of his estates. I'm like, seriously? One of his estates in Medora, which is right next to where my dad lives. And I'm like, oh, okay. And then we start joking about stuff like that, it's politicians with their estates. And I said, he does have one thing going for him that other politicians who have estates don't. He did run an international business for a long time. So he probably does have money, and he probably came by it honestly compared to most. But yeah, he was telling me that he had another estate in Wyoming, and now he still has an estate in the Carolinas where he raises polo horses and stuff like that. I'm like, dude.
Wow.
Come on.
That's some money.
That's some money. That is some money. But it was just funny. It's like, I went into the wrong business. Because my dad was also telling me about this guy who went to school with Trump, who also has an estate, has a ranch out by him. And I'm like, man, I just chose to go to the wrong school. I really did. And because, it's not about who you know. It's not about where you go. It's who you know. Right. And
in many cases.
In many cases. And the only reason you know them is because you went there. So, Anywho, so that was my impression of him. The only other person, honestly, that stood out to me was and was a little bit of a surprise to me was Mike Pence. I honestly even forgot that he was part of it until all of a sudden there his face was. And well, actually, you know how it started. Chris Christie was actually giving him a compliment. And he stopped. I mean, Chris Christie stopped the whole thing and said, listen, I want to get one thing straight. Mike Pence is one of the only patriots on this stage right now that has proven to the group that he actually follows the
What up?
what's the
it's
he was talking specifically about the fact that Trump tried to push him to do something and Pence said, no, I'm going to follow the Constitution.
As it turns out, however, two things. As it turns out, Pence had the constitutional right to do exactly what Trump was asking him to do.
Oh, sure he did. But
and they changed. They changed it after the fact. And
okay, so I don't know about that part. But
that he wasn't allowed to. And if you want to see, because that question came up during this particular interview that was on during the debate.
Is that what you watched instead?
Tucker Carlson interviewing President Trump.
Right.
I did not. I watched it today. Why the heck would I?
Yeah, I know. It's on YouTube.
Ever. Yeah. No, Twitter, on X.
Okay.
And
X.
so, but I did listen to it today. And I usually, here's my secret, listen to that stuff while I'm doing Sudoku or something like that. That's a little mindless.
Yeah.
Because I could multitask with that stuff. Way more people have viewed that than viewed the Republican.
Oh yeah. I mean, quite honestly, John, the whole thing was a shit show. I mean,
and so you'll be interested, and I'll tell you the percentages in just a moment of who won in the eyes of the people who answered polls.
Okay, I'm interested to hear that because the pundits right afterwards all said, I had no idea. I mean, it was pretty much the one thing that everyone expected that didn't happen was everyone shitting on Ron DeSantis.
Oh,
and
no
one really did.
Like it. And I think a lot of that didn't happen because Trump wasn't there. So, there was talk about him, I'm sure, too.
Yeah.
So the couple of things that I thought were interesting, and I didn't see it, but I understand that Christie got booed every time he was asked a question.
To a point, that's what I was saying, to a point where the reporters who were running it had literally turned around, and they did it twice while I was watching, and scolded the audience.
Yeah, Brett Barron, Martha McCallum.
Yep.
I'm not going to get into the political side of things, so I'll leave that aside. However, I found it interesting that Fox is not allowing anyone in cable news or any news to replay clips from the debate.
Interesting.
I understand.
That's very interesting.
Everywhere on YouTube, and and so that was fine. But I just found it interesting that they were like that. And Fox has kind of changed some stuff up a little bit, and I'm not sure if it's good or bad.
We'll find out.
The Tucker thing we can all agree is bad in terms of their ratings, because they've taken a dive ever since he's been gone. And you see his rate. I mean, his stuff is viewed.
Oh, he's fine. He's fine.
Oh my gosh, are you kidding me? He's that guy's got it made, and
he's probably going to make more money now.
Interviews. Oh, 10 times the money.
Yeah,
I guarantee you, it's just going to be outrageous how much more it makes. So the winner, according to this particular poll that was quoted somewhere, was Ramaswamy.
Really?
Vivek Ramaswamy, but by 1 percentage point over DeSantis. 28% for Ramaswamy and 27% for DeSantis.
Interesting.
Next was Pence at 17%.
I could see that.
And then it kind of went down. I think Tim can't think of his last name, was I think fourth, and then there were a couple of others in there. Christie was down toward the bottom.
Yeah.
So it wasn't really a big
landslide event
for anybody.
Right.
But
I don't think it was supposed to be either.
No,
so
I don't think so either. But a lot of the media has been saying how DeSantis, his campaign, he should just pull out because his campaign's done. And you know what? He came up there, and the boy that they're holding up is Ramaswamy, and I do like him. But he is a young man, if you'll forgive the boy terminology, but he's a young man at 38 years old who hasn't seen an awful lot, although he has been a successful businessman.
Right.
So
The only thing I think is working towards to him as an advantage is really the fact that Donald Trump was the same way. So he's not a direct replacement, and he's not doesn't have the track record or anything like that, but he's running in the same fashion as he was a businessman running for president instead of being a politician. So I think that's working in his favor, because that's the one thing.
Yep.
That was the one thing that I can say both Ron DeSantis and Mike Pence came off as, because you had you had Ramaswamy really out there spouting things that the normal American would probably spout that wasn't political in nature. I mean, it was all political, but not said like a politician. Ron DeSantis was kind of on that borderline, wasn't really making a full commitment either way. And Pence, every word that came out of his mouth, he sounded like a politician.
Sure.
So I think that's going to work against him. DeSantis needs to make the decision which way he wants to go. Yeah,
DeSantis has military service, and that deserves props in its own.
Absolutely.
And he doesn't get much of that. But I think, the fact that he is a successful governor who's very visible.
Yep.
And, he went through COVID, and, some people say, oh, he shut down well, no, he actually had COVID shots available for elderly folks, because I don't know if you've been to Florida, but there are some elderly folks here.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So anyway, he made some good calls, I thought. And I just like his level-headedness in general.
Yeah.
All that said, I think his demise has been greatly overestimated. So hopefully he'll at least stick in. And I don't think he's the guy. No offense to him. I think he's been great for Florida. I think maybe next time around, but I just don't think he has broad enough appeal at this stage of the game.
Okay.
And Trump's up by 41 points in some of these.
That's
oh my
big.
Gosh. That's incredible.
The next year is going to be very interesting. And
well, it will. You're right.
I'm not going to make a decision on anyone yet, because there's a whole other side that I want to look at too, because I know we've talked about it. I also am interested to hear more from RFK Jr.
Yeah.
That was the one thing that Ramaswamy, to me, one of the things that drew me to him is the fact that we've talked about Dan Crenshaw being this way too, at least before a lot of his stuff that he's been putting on Instagram.
Right.
Very level-headed, very, what's the other word I'm looking, not necessarily level-headed, but, common sense, very common sense. And that's what Ramaswamy was coming off as, is very common sense in a lot of his, and then of course he leans right. RFK, to me, with the exception of a few recent things that have come out, but for the most part, very level-headed in what he's talking about.
I would agree.
Both of them, I would say, are more moderate with leanings towards one or the other side.
Yeah.
And that's so. I would love to, and DeSantis, like I said, moved a little bit closer to that for me. So I'd be interested in seeing how all of that plays out. I know you have certain feelings about, and most Americans do, about Trump or about Biden, but to me, they are so far on either side that I can't get over that gap. I'm not. I can't look at either of them.
Yeah, I don't. Biden has his own set of problems. I mean,
problems.
if Trump made half of the blunders that Biden is, 1/10 of the blunders that Biden has made since he's been in office. I mean, it's clear Joe is not in control of anything.
No.
And we should be thankful for that, because that guy could not. He could not make a decision to save his life. Seriously.
I don't think anyone. I don't even think a Democrat would disagree with you.
No, I don't think so either. And I don't mean that in a right or left way. He just can't. He can't function. And it truly is elder abuse what they're doing to him, to put him in that office and make him do some of these things and search for where to go after he's done reading a teleprompter. Seriously. Anyway,
not even reading it well.
No, terribly. And again, if he's an elderly guy and he's got some memory issues and he's got some stuff going on, he should not be in that position. But there you have it. It doesn't matter in Washington. The last thing, though, and I want to just comment on what you said about Ramaswamy, that the businessman thing, the thing that's most attractive to me about that, whether it's Trump or him, look, Trump is Trump, but what he is he's not able to be bought by the commoners in DC that have owned that city for. I mean,
right.
the wealthiest city in the U.S. by far, Washington D.C.
Right.
But it's not even close.
Yeah.
It used to be San Francisco and blah blah blah. Nope, it's D.C. far and away. The wealthiest county is that county in the entire country. I'm not sure what the county is. I should know, but I don't.
District of Columbia.
But is there a county? I'm not sure.
I think there's
probably a Delaware. I'm not sure, but it is DC. You're right. But the thing about Trump and Ramaswamy, you can't buy them, right. and that does not sit well with the powers that be. And there are powers way beyond anything we're aware of in Washington. And I think when you look at the whole, some of this is going to come out, the whole Ukraine thing. It is indicative of the power that is behind and the money that is behind all of this stuff. Because when you talk about $1 trillion to Ukraine, oh my gosh, it's just it's unheard of. I don't even know how to react.
I actually think that's a really good segue into the other thing that was in the news that I really want to talk about. Everyone, it's time to put on your conspiracy theory hats.
Hold on.
Yeah. Okay. There we go. Ooh, I cut my ear when I did that. That hurt.
You cut your ear?
It feels like I did. That really hurt. I don't know. Anyway.
Well, I just think it's good because if people, and if you're listening, you don't know this, but if people are watching on YouTube, which I'm sure you are.
Absolutely.
When they log in, it's important for them to see, hey, well, they got their conspiracy theory hats on because we're wearing them sideways.
Are you drunk?
I sort of am. I thought it.
Very stuff.
Yeah. The conspiracy theory.
Constipated.
Hats. Sorry.
Yeah.
Golly.
All right.
Yes.
I'm going to butcher the name. I'm going to butcher the guy's name, so I'm not going to say his name. But let's just call him the Russian mercenary. What about that plane crash, John?
What about it, Bob?
Do you know what I'm talking about?
I don't. No. What are
you don't? Really? Are you serious?
What plane crash are you talking about? I'm serious. What?
You need to look it up. Look up plane crash outside of Moscow. Yes. Yes. John's looking that up right now. For the rest of you folks, there was a strange plane crash with the the head of the Wagner mercenary group, who was on the airplane and died today. Strange. There was nothing wrong with the airplane, and then all of a sudden, it nosedived.
Purported.
Well, that's some people have confirmed it. Yeah. And some news has, some news hasn't. I think the one I saw was The Guardian,
Wednesday,
out of the UK. Yeah. So it happened yesterday.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep. So it was on the anniversary, like the 2-month anniversary of the attempted not coup, because it wasn't a coup, but the backlash. What do you call that? The mutiny. That's the word they used. The mutiny.
Oh, okay.
He was supposedly given immunity from all of that, and everything was all good. And all of a sudden, boom, plane crash.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that stuff happens. Again, way more than we know. And then you look at things like the assassination of President Kennedy.
Yeah.
Oh, but we're still not going to release that stuff. There's Mr. Biden in full swing, by the way.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be released last year, as I recall.
Yeah, something like that. Or maybe even 2 years ago.
Put it back away. And they're not going to release it. And so, and this is stuff that RFK Jr. talks about too, which is one. I have a hard time listening to him, and I know his voice
because of his voice. It's a
disease thing, but he's if I close my eyes, it's like an elderly 86-year-old guy.
Yeah.
But if you see him, they showed a picture of him with his shirt on, but dude is cut, and I'm like,
yeah, he is. Yes, he is. Have you seen his wife? You know who he's married to, right?
She keeps calling me, but I haven't seen her.
I know. Yeah. But you know who she's married to, right?
Who she's married to?
No, he is married.
Oh, he is married to.
You see, that's what happens when you close your eyes and just try to listen to my voice.
No, I don't, because your voice is terrible.
Cheryl Hines.
Anyway, Cheryl Hines. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I know who that is.
Yeah.
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 Okay.
It's so it's an interesting match, but yeah, I mean, he's a Kennedy. He's a good looking dude, and it's that voice that
Okay.
throws him off. But that's too much alcohol and too many drugs back in his youth, and that's at
Really?
least what a lot of people attribute it to. Yeah.
Oh, that's not what he said. He said it's actually
It is. It's a disease,
something.
but it's spurred
Yeah.
on by it was
Oh,
spurred on by that.
okay. Interesting. Well, he's obviously overcome all of that stuff,
Oh, sure.
and he does. He is way more in the middle than most of the Democratic Party these days.
Well, and you know what he said, and I maybe it's rightly so. If you look back at history, he is still his family. His family was
sure.
never. I mean, back then
Correct.
they were
Correct.
liberal, but if you
Absolutely
took
correct.
their political views and put them in today's context, which he is, they're much more centerline,
big time.
almost conservative.
Yeah.
Almost conservative.
Yeah. And on many issues they are.
Yeah.
Or he is more
Right.
to the point. And so, yeah, no, it's an interesting dichotomy when you look at the left and the right today, and you look at who's running for president these days.
Yeah.
I think it's comical, given what I said earlier, that they even consider Biden as a possible candidate.
I know.
And then
it's crazy.
It's crazy. It's comical.
They are doing everything they can to shut down other candidates that have any chance. You know who's got the best chance, which I would cringe. I would definitely, this is one that I would step off and say, there's no way in hell I'll ever vote for him.
I
Gavin
can think
Newsom.
Of 3 names. Yeah, well, he's one.
Gavin Newsom.
Yeah.
Yep. I mean, he's technically, I think he would be considered the front runner if they were actually to bring everyone up and say, here's your candidates, choose one. I would say Gavin Newsom is probably the front runner for most people.
So
and
I've heard his name.
The only person I would run faster from would be Kamala.
Yeah. Oh, she can't handle the truth or the office. I would. Yeah. So I've heard him, and he looks the part, and so on.
He looks the part.
But far definitely. Left. You can see what's happened to California.
Yeah.
Under his watch, and oh my gosh, it's just, and really just looking at homelessness alone. That he said, we got this, and we just need billions, and so on, and now just look at how it's just exploded everywhere in California. It's just horrible. So sad. It is so sad. But I've also heard Michelle Obama.
I've heard that one too. I think that would be an interesting one.
It would be a scary one. And
why would that be scary?
Because she is not equipped, in my humble opinion.
Okay.
She's a good speaker. She, I don't think she could be, I don't think she could be used as a pawn, like some people. But in fact, I think she would have her own. I don't think her ego would handle that. So, but I think the powers that be that are potentially controlling things right now would not accept somebody like that.
No. Who else have you heard?
That's it. I mean, there are others, but they're. It makes me turn my head sideways when I bring up the others.
Well, of course, Oprah is always on the list. Everyone wants Oprah to be president.
That would be the worst thing she could do. Hey, maybe Whoopi Goldberg.
No, I don't think anyone would vote for Whoopi. No, but I do think Oprah. Yeah. I do think a lot of people would vote for Oprah. I think people would cross aisles for Oprah. Same goes for Matthew McConaughey. I think a lot of people would cross aisles for Matthew McConaughey if he ran. I don't think he'd win either of them, but I do think a lot of people would. Definitely.
Yeah, I don't look. So McConaughey is. I like him as an actor. He has no concept of centrist, really, because it's a Hollywood thing.
Yeah. The only thing I have to throw out when you say that, and this brings us back to the debate too, because we didn't get to it, but. Ronald Reagan you could have said the same thing about Ronald Reagan when he was an actor before he was the governor of California.
No question. And how about Fred Thompson, the right-leaning, far right, not far, but right-leaning senator from Tennessee.
Right.
Who's passed away some years ago, but a fabulous, not only actor, but I loved him. He was like a B actor, I guess.
Yeah.
Supporting roles, but he was great, and I loved him he was great on camera.
Yeah.
Because like Reagan, he was very much an actor.
Well, sure. And
both
you know what? Another one who was never really talked about all that much, I guess, Shirley Temple. I mean, she was a ambassador.
I guess I had forgotten about that, but you're right. I mean, years before us, but
at least years before me.
Both of us.
She was actually an ambassador in the 70s. 70s and 80s. Seriously, look it up.
Oh, well, that was after she was married Shirley Temple Black. That was different.
Yes. Yeah, because she was married so young. She just tap danced her way into the politicians' hearts.
Yes,
yeah, exactly.
Of course.
But anyway, the reason I mentioned that is there was a lot of talk about Ronald Reagan's and Reaganomics and people. I was, from a communication standpoint, I was sitting there going, that's really smart, because for the longest time, thanks to Trump, let's say thanks to Trump, thanks to Bernie Sanders, thanks to Biden, we've really kind of veered off from that path of being centrist, which I do feel, I'm sorry if you disagree, but I do feel that even though he was conservative, Ronald Reagan was very much more of a centrist than he was.
I'd say he was a moderate. I wouldn't say he was a centrist.
Moderate.
He was definitely
let's say moderate. Yeah, definitely conservative. But he also started out as a Democrat. I mean,
he did.
He swapped parties before he became governor of California. But they talked a lot of these guys, they were and ladies, I apologize, were bringing back and talking about all of the Reaganisms. And they were holding this outside of or near the Reagan, no, because that was in California. But they were talking quite a bit about the Reagan Library and so it was very much a Reagan-centric debate in a lot of respects, and a lot of talk about Reagan, more so than I had expected. But again, from a communication standpoint, from a public relations standpoint, that was really genius, because it's trying to bring everyone in the conversation back to the middle. Back to that more moderate.
Okay. There are some things, again, without getting political, there are some things you don't want to become more moderate on if you're a true conservative.
Sure.
However, Reagan was abused by the media.
Oh, absolutely.
People that don't remember in the 80s, dude was abused, and he was the worst thing ever. He's going to get us into wars, and he's going to do just abused.
Yep.
And people, after he passed, Reagan, he was actually a friend of the media, and they just changed the whole story.
Yep.
It's all BS. He was abused like everybody on the right.
Every single one of them.
It seems to be.
I'll even say that everyone on the left too, with the exception of Biden, because they don't want to pick on the grandpa.
But who do they abuse on the left?
Well, they abused the. Well, I would not say. I have to put this in a specific context, because I think our media is definitely left leaning. There's no question about that. No question about that. Has been for a long time. Not even going to debate that.
Yes.
I do think, though, we have a fair number of right leaning media pundits as well, and they are going to abuse the left.
I think those people are centrists, frankly. Because now here's Tucker Carlson, who is definitely right-leaning, definitely conservative, but he's not over the top like some people would say. He calls crap out that he sees that he doesn't agree with, and so on. But so those types of people, we have Glenn Beck, and but they're all cable people, they're all internet people. They are not cable. They're not broadcast.
I'm not even talking about cable. The last time I've watched cable news. So
us, same with us.
Exactly.
We don't ever watch.
I'm just saying, I think they're equally, and when I say equal, I don't mean tit for tat. I just mean everyone is picked on, and that's the case, because that's what we should do in our society. Doesn't matter the side. Doesn't matter what side's in the presidency. Doesn't matter what side's running for mayor in Nashville.
Yeah.
There needs to be people on both sides that are willing to question and comment on the activities that happen. And I do think we do that.
That would be great. No, unfortunately, no. If you had real of old, if you had real
That's what I'm saying. I'm not talking about
journalists
right now,
from
John. I'm not talking
the
about
old
now.
days,
I'm talking
you
about the
take
old days.
yeah. Oh, okay. Well, my mistake, because that's what we need. We
That's what
need
I'm
a media that asks the questions and isn't
Yes.
afraid to and isn't bought and paid for by somebody. I don't know who. Well, I do. I think I do. But yeah, just to hold people accountable by asking questions and making sure.
Yes.
But so much of it is just a nod and a and a wink and off you
Yeah.
go. And nobody is called out anymore for a lot of their lies and
Yep.
disinformation. Call it what you want.
Yeah. And I think we did that really well back then, and I think it was equal. What I'm saying is nowadays, in the more modern days, yes, the conservative sides are going to be bashed more because the liberal side of the media is much bigger than the conservative side.
Much more
but
power,
even on the conservative side, they are attacking. And
they're
and
there for sure.
The difference is exactly what you said. In the past, you had people asking questions. Now you have people making statements.
Yeah, exactly. Very well said. That's exactly what it is. So instead of reporting the news, they've become the news.
Correct.
Yeah.
And that's difficulty. So I want to end this on one more topic really quick.
So
not so.
Okay, do
you ever watch, or are you familiar with on YouTube, Johnny Harris?
Gosh, the name sounds familiar, but not off the top of my head. No.
He's a younger, and I would put him late 30s, early 40s. He's a journalist, has been for a very long time. Very left leaning. For those of you who are trying to figure it out, he's very left leaning. But I watched his latest video. It's about 12, 15 minutes long. It was really interesting, and it was how he put it, his video essay on Joe Rogan.
Oh.
I would encourage all of you to look up Johnny Harris and his video on Joe Rogan, because it was fascinating. And he actually, again, being a very left-leaning, the reason I like Johnny, though, is while we know what his politics are, and he will tell you what his politics are, a lot of his stories, a lot of his news, or the stories that he does, the topics that he does, don't always lean left. They're really, truly facts for the most part. Obviously he's going to sprinkle in a few other things, so you just have to look past that if that's not something you agree with. But all in all, I just find his reporting very, very well researched. And that was his point to all of this. Everything he does is very well researched. And he was having a difficult time picking apart Joe Rogan. He said, and he's talking about how the media portrays Joe Rogan by using sound bites that make him sound like a white supremacist or an anti-vaxxer or this or that, or look, he has Alex Jones on, and ignoring all the other people. So anyway, if you get a chance, go check this out, because I thought it was really well done and very interesting. And even Johnny said, I never listened to his podcast before. I really got into it. I liked it. I think it was very, very interesting. It was a lot of research, because those are very long podcasts, but he's the number one for a reason. And he was even talking about Candace Owen, how when he was watching the Candace Owen episode, he's like, I hated Candace Owen. I didn't want to, I thought she was garbage, basically. I'm not, he didn't say those words, but I'm putting words in his mouth. But he said, after that episode, I still don't like Candace Owen, but now I can't get past the fact that I have to respect her as a person. And I'm like, you know what? That sums up a lot, because Joe Rogan asks good questions of a lot of different people, and it doesn't matter what your politics are. It doesn't matter who you are. It's an open, let's call it honest conversation, depending on the side you're on, about people. And that's what it's about. Letting people talk.
I totally agree with that, and I it's a perfect time for me to interrupt you, letting people talk.
Someone needs to,
because he doesn't care. I love that aspect.
Yep.
You know what? You want to attack him? Bring it.
Yeah,
bring it on, because he carries with him this massive conglomerate of people that listen to every single podcast. And so Spotify, let's try and woke him and see what happens for a second. Spotify goes, Because how stupid would they be, or any business, to say, oh, here's our number one guy. Well, we want to be woke, so we'll just tell him to calm things down. No, he doesn't care.
Yeah.
And you can tell that by his guests. You can tell that by how he interacts with the guests. I told you this. I've watched some of his stand-up stuff. I have a hard time listening to him because when he does stand-up, his voice gets kind of high and it's kind of grainy. And I'm just like, boy, Joe, wow, stop trying so hard. When he does his podcast, he's not trying hard.
Right.
It's like it's just you're having a conversation. And the F-bombs here and there, I can do without some of them. And the cigar well, there are some that are appropriately placed, but the cigars and, whatever. But I give the guy credit because he doesn't care. And he's untouchable when it comes to the wokesters. And they go, okay, well, let's pick somebody easier. And they, they move on at some point. Yeah. So I like
that's
Rogan.
that,
and
that's
I will
exactly
listen to
what
Mr. Harris.
Yeah, and that's exactly what he was saying during that too. He's like, he's a genius. And again, I'm putting words in his mouth. These aren't necessarily words he said verbatim, but he's a genius, but also one of the most dangerous men in media. Because he has more power than most.
Or one of the most effective.
Both. And he can be both. He's dangerous and effective. I mean, imagine what he could do if he just decided not to be the way he is.
How about Walter Cronkite back in the 60s?
Exactly. So powerful. He
could have run for president and been a shoo-in.
Yep.
Yeah.
Flip a switch. And, I mean, he's, to use Spider-Man, with great power comes great responsibility.
Great responsibility.
And he has a lot of power. And if he wanted to use it unresponsibly, he could. And that was kind of what Johnny was trying to get across, which I thought was fascinating. And it's true. Yep. It's not wrong.
But that's the mainstream media too. They don't always use it responsibly.
Exactly.
But they have it. They have this massive audience. And the puppy. I heard the cone. Yeah. I heard the cone rattling. I know that sound.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Well, that's cool. I will check out Johnny Harris. That is good advice. And I don't spend a lot of time outside of my echo chamber, but I think it would be good to.
It's always
to
good.
listen.
And
to
I do. I spend a lot of time on both sides.
I know you do.
I want to learn it all. Yep. And on that note, folks, while you're up on YouTube looking up Johnny Harris, why don't you go ahead and look up PoddiMouths if you're not there already watching this. If you are, like and subscribe and hit that little bell.
Smash it.
Smash it. Smash that like button. And also head up to PoddiMouths.com. Check out our website. I'm still working on the merch stuff. But it's still there if you want to buy some merch.
Get some.
It would very much be nice if you did so, or buy us a coffee, because that's up there as well. But you can also listen to all of our past episodes, blah, 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 blah.
Which is what we say when we're listening to our past episodes.
Exactly.
Blah, blah, blah.
Blah, blah, blah. We're not Joe Rogan. Bye, everybody.
Not yet. See ya.